Hello, my name is Olivia Snyder. I'm a potter, painter, and maker. Yay! This is my second video about making a Staplegator. Staple Austin is one of my favorite events to both attend and to vend at. Last year, I made a time-lapse video of me drawing a Staplegator in CorelDRAW. This year, I'm making one using a hand-drawn doodle, CorelDRAW, and some faux mimeography. While this isn't necessarily a tutorial video, it does go through my process of how I make this style of print. First off, I import a hand-drawn doodle into CorelDRAW, a vector-based drawing program. I go through a lot of extra nonsense of shape building in the beginning because I haven't quite figured out how I want the end product to look. Ultimately, I settle on doing a 2-color print. A, because it looks cute, and B, because I don't want to do a 5-color print. I tinkered with the text a little bit before my final, but I have 2 printouts to make my Mimeo screens, a black printout and a red printout, which is black, but I will use red to print it. Now, my secret weapon in making faux mimeograph stencils is this, a Brother Intellifax 775, which I tracked down new in box on Nextdoor for about $10 after almost a year of hunting. Why, you say? Are you using an old fax machine? And, depending on your age, what is a fax machine? Before computers, this is how we would send memes to each other. Many government agencies still use fax machines, which is why you can likely find them in your local library. In any event, my desire for the fax is not to send important documents, but to make use of its stellar thermal printing capabilities. See, the stencil paper I am using is actually Risograph Master, normally used to make prints in a Risograph copy machine. I do not have the money nor the space for a Risograph copier, but I have $12 plus $5 shipping to get a roll of Master off of eBay. Risograph Master is essentially mulberry paper coated in a super thin layer of plastic. Originally, mimeograph stencils were mulberry paper coated in a super thin layer of wax. To make a stencil, I need to burn away the plastic where I want the ink to go through. That is, what I want my design to be. The fax machine is at the perfect chef's kiss temperature to make a Risograph Master stencil. I've tried tattoo stencil copiers and the results vary wildly. As an added bonus, I've saved some outdated technology from the landfill. I feel very superior right now. The fax is a little finicky about accepting paper, so I make a carrier/frame from a cardstock that the machine can pull through. Sometimes it needs a little push to get going, but voila! In a few seconds, I have a nice stencil. After making the stencils, I can rip the middle part off the carrier sheet, and I have a handy frame. This is almost like a super lazy man screen printing. I've just taped down a sheet to use as my registration, and then taped the frame to the table where I can hinge it up and down. For my ink, I'm also going the cheap route and using some craft paint with an extender. You will absolutely have to use an extender or a retarder when using acrylic paint, otherwise the paint will dry in the stencil before you even have a chance to lift up the frame. Then you will be sad, without prints of any sort. Eyeballing the registration, we are off to the races. You may have seen screen printers use a long, flat thingamabobber called a squeegee to scrape paint through the screen. I've tried that with Mimeo stencils, and ultimately it just scrapes the mulberry fibers up and ruins the stencil fairly quickly. So I use a soft paintbrush and just paint over the stencil. There's a nice quality about the stencil fibers that don't really let your paint gloop or pool that much as long as it's not liquidy. After the red is dry, I move on to the black. I'm obviously not using any super exact registration techniques here. I am 100% eyeballing it. The black was a little harder for me to see that I was hitting all of the stencil properly, so my first few prints are kinda dingy. But there we have it, a faux mimeograph Staplegator print all ready for the 2025 Staple Expo in Austin. I can't wait to see y'all there. I hope you have a magical day.